Start game now. The Mini Tigers helmet is back because we're going to look at another baseball game, and it is Pete Rose Baseball, which I just recently reviewed for the 2600, but this time it's for the Atari 7800. So let's go ahead and take Pete Rose Baseball, pop it into our Atari 7800 Pro System, and find out how this game compares to the 2600 version. Let's go to the game. Pete Rose Baseball is a baseball game for 1 or 2 players. According to the manual, this is the last game of the World Series. This, of course, is just a ploy to cover up the fact that each game is self-contained, and just like the 2600 version, Pete Rose does not appear in the game itself. When playing the computer, there is only one standard mode of difficulty. Playing the game is pretty much identical to the 2600 version, as the game never takes advantage of the second button on the 7800 controller. When batting, you use the joystick to move around the batter's box and the button to swing. When you make contact, your player automatically runs to first. Holding the joystick to the left will make your runner and any other runners on base advance. Pressing right will have them retreat. Holding the button down while moving the joystick will only affect the leadoff runner. When pitching, you use the joystick to move your pitcher on the mound. You press the button and the joystick at the same time to select your pitch. Holding up on the joystick will give you a fastball, down will give you a sinker, left a screwball, and right a curveball, and keeping the joystick in the center will give you a changeup. You can walk the batter after 4 balls, but you cannot hit the batter. When the ball is hit, it can go to one of 5 screens depending on the direction and the power of the hit. The 5 screens are the 2 infields and the 3 outfields. The 2 infields are divided with one on the first base side and one on the third base side. When a fly ball is hit, the fielder can track it by using its shadow. If it reaches the outfields, you are given control of the respective outfielder once the ball reaches the screen, although sometimes you will not have time to reach the ball to catch it depending where it lands. If the ball targets the infield, you will use the button and joystick to pick a player to use. Depending on which side it's on, you press up for the second baseman or the shortstop, left for the third baseman or the pitcher, right for the pitcher or the first baseman, and down always for the catcher. Each player is given a horizontal strip they can move around in with invisible walls limiting their movement. So a ball near the bottom of the screen can only be reached by the catcher. This does lead to some moments where your selected player is so close to the ball but just can't get to it due to that invisible wall. If you catch the ball for an out, the game switches to the next batter. If you don't catch the ball for an out, you can throw the ball to the selected base by pressing the button and holding the joystick in the direction of that base. So up for second, right for first, down for home, and left for third. Once the runner stops and the ball is held anywhere in the infield, the game switches to the next batter. The game ends after 9 innings, and it may go into extra innings in case of a tie, but I've never had a tied game, so I'm not really sure. However, if the team batting second is winning after the top of the 9th, the game ends without them having to bat at the bottom of the 9th. Graphically speaking, the game looks decent, but it's not that much of a step up from the 2600 version, which was really impressive for the Atari 2600. They did add a basic title screen, and the players look a little more cartoony and a little less like stick figures, and they also gave the pitcher a nice looking updated animation, but I did think they could have done more for this version of the game. However, I do like it better than Real Sports Baseball in the 7800, which is a single screen game. Music and sound is identical to the 2600 version. The end of the national anthem is heard at the beginning, and the charged tune is played here and there. These sounds and the basic sound effects are good, but the roar of the crowd sound might be irritating to some gamers. And of course, this is a family-friendly game as long as you're not betting on the game with your little brothers or sisters. On eBay, there were only some loose copies that sold, and they went for about $22 to $25, and that price includes shipping. So what did I think of Pete Rose Baseball on the 7800? Well, whereas the 2600 version really pushed the system to its limits, I thought the 7800 version just came off as a slightly upgraded port. It's basically the same game with some minor graphical upgrades. And just like the 2600 version, there is a learning curve, especially with learning which infielder to select. And while the game plays fast in between pitches, it can feel slow at times, especially after you hit a home run and are forced to wait for everyone to run the base slowly. Despite this, I still enjoyed the game, just not enough to recommend it to an Atari 7800 owner who already happens to own the 2600 version of the game. So where am I going to rank Pete Rose Baseball? Well, it's definitely better than Real Sports Baseball at 29, and I actually see this as a middle of the game pack. I'd rather play Rampage at 13 and Asteroids at 14, but I do like it a little better than Super Huey at 15, so I'm going to make Pete Rose Baseball my new number 15 game. Pete Rose Baseball, it could have done more, but it's still the best baseball game on the system. If you enjoy retro-related videos, would you please click the like and subscribe buttons? You can also check out my podcast, the Atari 7800 Game by Game podcast. This game was covered along with F-18 Hornet in greater depth in episode 16. And you can now support the show through Patreon. Just follow the links in the description below. And be sure to check out some of my other videos covering Atari, Sega, Nintendo, and more. With over 175 now posted, there's sure to be something for just about any retro fan. Thanks for giving me a little part of your day, and I look forward to seeing you next time on the next episode of the No Sir Gamer. Take care, and remember, there's no betting in baseball, at least not in the Hall of Fame that we know of.